10 tons. And of course, you're familiar with the Berbice River Bridge and the Demerara Harbour Bridge. And many of you are also familiar with another bridge, the Kissing Bridge in the Botanical Gardens. See you next time on Bet You Didn't Know. Compliments of Sigismund Consultants, Inc.
Drink Pepsi Black for max taste, no sugar. Pepsi Black time, 18 hours.
The news from Guyana, the region and the world. Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
The news comes to you compliments of KFC. It's finger licking good. First, the highlights. The Federation of Independent Trade Unions in Guyana is calling on the private sector to increase wages and salaries for private sector workers and calls on the government to raise the national minimum wage. Guyanese law student Roletta Barrow is the 2022 Commonwealth Caribbean Roads Scholar. The construction of the Guyana Fire Service new headquarters to start in December this year as the government inked a $614 million contract with Mohammed's enterprise. 3 people, 1 fully vaccinated and 2 unvaccinated persons, succumbed to the COVID virus, taking the toll to 983. And a Colombian prisoner today jumped the prisoner's dock in court while handcuffed and choked a female Venezuelan who had a complaint against him. In the region, starting with the BVI, Education Minister Dr. Natalia Whitley is encouraging students to pursue tertiary education after leaving high school to become more competitive in the labor market locally. And Suriname's state-owned oil company, Satsoli, has shut down its refinery temporarily to make way for repairs, but will not cause fuel shortage. And internationally, the United Nations Refugee Agency has said the drowning of 27 people in the Canal between France and Britain on Wednesday could have been avoided. Details of these and other stories in a moment.
KFC delivery is now available from the Amazonia location for shore-based Little Diamond residents. Call 632-0533, 632-0533, 6080162, 6080162, or 503-3591, 503-3591. That's KFC's delivery service from the Amazonia location. KFC.
It's finger licking good.
With the news, I am Ruth Wilson. Good evening. And now the news in detail. The Federation of Independent Trade Unions in Guyana, FITUG, is calling on the private sector to increase wages and salaries for workers in their employ to match the government's increase. In a statement, the umbrella union called for private sector businesses to offer increases to their employees. The union says while the pay rise may not have met the expectations of some, the increase is several times more than what those employers are offering to their employees in the private sector. The union says it cannot be ignored and there is a widening disparity between the national and public sector minimum wages. FITUG says the recent announced increase by the government has widened the salary gap between the public and private sectors to a $30,700 per month difference. The union says this means employees at the national minimum wage level in the private sector must work 2 months to earn $70,000 their counterparts in the public sector are earning. The union says the current national minimum wage is a pauperization wage and again urges the government to address in a meaningful manner the long outstanding issue. FITUG says the need to raise the national minimum wage has become an urgent need for an adjustment. Guyanese law student Roletta Barrow is the 2022 Commonwealth Caribbean Roads Scholar. This announcement was made Wednesday by the Governor-General, Dame Sandra Mason, at the Government House following a full day of interviews. According to a Nation News report, Roletta Barrow was chosen from among 12 candidates who were interviewed virtually by the selection committee. The other interviewees vying for the prestigious scholarship came from Barbados, the Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent, and St. Kitts. Dame Sandra described the interview process as an exciting but compelling exercise, which showed that the Caribbean is crammed with able, erudite, articulate, engaging, brilliant, and passionate young people who are committed to regional development. Her Excellency added that based on what she has seen in her capacity as chairman of the selection committee for the past 4 years, the region was in good hands provided that the region seeks to maintain and retain its brain power and capabilities of the youth. Roletta Barrow is currently enrolled in the Bachelor of Laws program at the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus. Next October, Ms. Barrow will be heading to the University of Oxford to pursue the Bachelor in Civil Law. The construction of the Guyana Fire Service new headquarters to start in December this year as the government inked a $614 million contract with Mohammed's Enterprise. The government's Department of Public Information says the Ministry of Home Affairs awarded the contract to Mohammed's Enterprise on Wednesday. The contract was signed between the ministry's permanent secretary, May Thomas, and Nazir Mohammed of Mohammed's Enterprise. The new headquarters is to be located on a site already identified on Homestretch Avenue, Georgetown. Construction will commence no later than December 1, 2021, and is expected to last for some 14 months. Minister of Home Affairs Honorable Robson Ben, MP, who witnessed the signing ceremony, says the relocation of the Guyana Fire and Ambulance Service will help increase the emergency response time, as it will be away from the heavily congested Stabroek Market area. The Home Affairs Minister says the fire service will have adequate space for training sessions with the new modern facilities that will be constructed. A man was early this morning burnt to death in a fire at his residence at Market Street Enterprise, East Coast, Demerara. The Guyana Fire Service has identified him as 54-year-old Shwavash Gulchand. Investigators are reportedly trying to ascertain the cause of the blaze. The fire service says that due to radiated heat, 2 vehicles located on the western side of the building were severely damaged. The fire department said it was made aware of the fire at 3:40 this morning. The fire service is again urging citizens to equip their homes with smoke detectors and fire extinguishers and to be careful when cooking or using electrical appliances. 3 people, 1 fully vaccinated and 2 unvaccinated persons, succumbed to the COVID virus, taking the toll to 983. The Health Ministry says one of the unvaccinated was not tallied in April of this year and is now accounted for in the tally. The ministry's data show a minimal increase overall in serious and positive cases, with 89 new infections recorded and 14 persons seriously sick in the COVID intensive care. There are another 72 persons hospitalized and 3 others under observation by healthcare workers. The ministry says it has fully vaccinated 53% of the population, or 273,880 adults, and 20,112 children ages 12 to 17 years. There are 398,281 adults, or 77%, partially vaccinated, and 28,930 children ages 12 to 17 years old, partially vaccinated. A male Colombian prisoner jumped the prisoner's dock and choked a female complainant in the Wales Magistrates Court. The accused Colombian prisoner, Alberto Jose, handcuffed in the prisoner's dock while his case was being heard today at the West Bank Demerara Court, jumped the dock and held onto the neck of the female complainant, Hilardi Caramota, who is Venezuelan. A police rank present in court was able to restrain Alberto Jose and took him to the court's lockups. The magistrate remanded him until March 2022. Police say ranks in the Upper Berbice destroyed a quantity of suspected marijuana plants on a 10-acre farm yesterday. The ranks visited the Upper Berbice Ebony area where the farm was located, and approximately 60,000 marijuana plants ranging from 6 inches to 10 feet high, in addition to 600 pounds of dried marijuana plants. Police say one male was at the farm but fled the area. And they also say in addition to the farm and dried marijuana, 5 camps were also destroyed. You're still with us on News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM. It's 18 hours 10. We now turn to news in the region. Education Minister Dr. Natalia Wheatley is encouraging students to pursue tertiary education after leaving high school so they can become more competitive in the evolving labor market locally. Speaking at the Education Labor Connect initiative hosted by his ministry earlier today, Dr. Wheatley said with local employers largely looking overseas for employees, it is important that students try to obtain advanced levels of qualification to make themselves attractive for job offers that appear. According to BVI News, Dr. George's HLSCC's president echoed the sentiments of the education minister in relation to pursuing a tertiary education after secondary school. Dr. Georges says the BVI has become a more global player and the community has become more internationalized. While it might have been feasible for Dr. Wheatley and our generation to plan to enter the job market out of high school, it has become a less and less feasible pathway as job seekers in the community have become more competitive, he says. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is in talks with major pharmaceutical manufacturers of cutting-edge drugs about utilizing COVID-19 vaccines for children ages 5 to 11. Minister of Health Terence Dale Singh yesterday told the Parliament as he responded to questions from Opposition Chief Whip David Lee on measures to deal with the third wave of COVID-19 in the country. Dale Singh said the Delta variant is now in 193 countries and reminded that he warned back in August that it was not a matter of if but when the variant would hit TNT. He says it is confirmed that the variant is in all countries throughout TNT now. The health minister says the government is in talks with major pharmaceutical manufacturers on cutting-edge drugs, antivirals or other therapeutics, as well as the vaccine for children. He said $500,000 was also sent to UWI to increase genomic sequencing capacity for variants of concern. Suriname's state-owned oil company, Satsuli, has shut down its refinery temporarily to make way for repairs. Star News reports that the refinery will be closed for 3 weeks, but there will be no fuel shortage. Satsuli spokesman Enid Bergvall says it decided to close the refinery after the catalyst in the hydrogen plant was deactivated and had to be replaced. She told Star News that there is sufficient stock of fuel and there is no fear of a shortage. The closure of the refinery started on Saturday. The company explains that the catalyst is a granular material that facilitates chemical reactions in the manufacturing process. The refinery was shut down in February for maintenance and will undergo an early round of maintenance. It's 18 hours 13. Let's join the BBC World Service for international news.
BBC News with Sue Montgomery. The United Nations Refugee Agency has said the drowning of 27 people in the Channel between France and Britain on Wednesday could have been avoided. It warned that closing off legal routes to people applying for asylum would lead to more dangerous attempts to reach safe countries. Britain and France have called for greater European cooperation on the issue. Our Europe editor, Katja Adler, says this will be a challenge.
The EU is made up of 27 member states, and the 27 countries have failed year after year, including since that big migrant and refugee crisis back in 2015 to agree on a humanitarian and effective migrant and refugee and asylum policy. So, for example, we have an incoming government coming into Germany, and they've said they favour more legal migration as a means of putting people off risking their lives. But then you have countries like Hungary and others in Central and Eastern Europe, and they say absolutely not.
A Libyan military court in Misrata has issued a death sentence in absentia against the eastern-based commander, General Khalifa Haftar, over the bombing of the city's Air Force College 2 years ago. Mike Thompson reports.
The military prosecution in Misrata announced its sentence after accusing General Khalifa Haftar of bombing the city's Air Force College in 2019 and the consequent death of one of the college's soldiers. Earlier this month, General Haftar, whose eastern-based Libyan National Army launched a 14-month attack on Tripoli in 2019, announced his candidacy for next month's presidential elections. But the court has said that the ruling poses a legal impediment to his presidential candidacy.
A study in Bangladesh has found a fall of about 50% in the efficacy of all widely used antibiotics. Researchers say the pandemic has encouraged the overuse of antibiotics due to a misconception that they can kill the virus that causes COVID-19. Brazil's Vice President Hamilton Mourão has said that the government will act to disperse hundreds of illegal gold miners whose rafts are blocking a river in the northern state of Amazonas. This report from our Americas editor, Leonardo Rocha.
The Vice President said that the Navy and Federal Police are working together on the final details of the operation to detain the miners and seize their equipment. They've joined their rafts together in lines that almost span the Madeira River in Brazil's Amazon region. The gold rush began after rumours spread that the precious metal had been discovered in the area. Local politicians have urged the federal government to intervene because of the health and environmental risks posed by illegal mining on the river.
BBC News. Health officials in Britain say they're alarmed by a new variant of COVID-19 that has spread in South Africa, calling it the worst they've seen so far. It has twice as many mutations as the Delta variant and is harder for the immune system to detect. Scientists say it's dramatically different from that of the original coronavirus. 59 cases of the new variant have been identified in South Africa, Hong Kong and Botswana. Reports from Russia say 52 people are now known to have died in a Siberian coal mine where a fire broke out. Nearly 300 people were in the mine when the blaze took hold. At least 3 of the victims were rescuers looking for trapped miners. The BBC's Adam Robinson says there have been many similar accidents in Russia, but the number of dead on this occasion is unusually high.
The cause was coal dust catching fire and thereafter smoke spread throughout the mine. Methane gas and coal dust are seen as the biggest threats to safety in Russian mines. They're a chronic problem. There have often been reports practically every year of mining accidents in the country.
4 people, including 2 Chinese nationals, have been killed in a rebel attack on a gold mine in the northeast of the Democratic Republic of Congo. An army spokesman blamed the Cooperative for the Development of Congo, or CODECO, for the attack in Ituri province. A ceremony has been taking place in Egypt to mark the opening to the public of the 3,000-year-old Avenue of Sphinxes in Luxor. It's taken more than 70 years of stop-start attempts to excavate the 3-kilometre-long ancient walkway, which connects the city's 2 greatest temples of Karnak and Luxor. The ceremony included music inspired by stories written on the walls of the temples in hieroglyphics. Egypt hopes the event will boost its ailing tourism sector. BBC News.
And that's the news to the moment.
After a hard day's work, a lime at the workplace would be great, and even greater and better with KFC, with a wide choice of finger-licking meals in a wide range of sizes. Could be a birthday celebration or promotion, or a lime for no reason at all. Any lime, anytime, anywhere is better and tastier with a delicious meal from any of KFC's 9 locations, including the Amazonia Mall at Providence, open now from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. KFC.
It's finger licking good.
To end the news, here's a recap of the highlights. The Federation of Independent Trade Unions in Guyana is calling on the private sector to increase wages and salaries for private sector workers and calls on the government to raise the national minimum wage. Guyanese law student Rawletta Barrow is the 2022 Commonwealth Caribbean Roads Scholar. The construction of the Guyana Fire Service new headquarters to start in December this year as the government inked a $614 million contract with Mohammed's enterprise. 3 people, 1 fully vaccinated and 2 unvaccinated persons, succumbed to the COVID virus, taking the toll to 983. A Colombian prisoner today jumped the prisoner's dock in court while handcuffed and choked a female Venezuelan who had a complaint against him. In the region, in BVI, Education Minister Dr. Natalia Whitley is encouraging students to pursue tertiary education after leaving high school to become more competitive in the labor market locally. Suriname's state-owned oil company, Satsuli, has shut down its refinery temporarily to make way for repairs but will not cause fuel shortage. And internationally, the United Nations Refugee Agency has said the drowning of 27 people in the Channel between France and Britain on Wednesday could have been avoided. The news came to you compliments of KFC. It's finger-licking good.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.
On December 24 to January 1, you can get your greetings 6 times each day, streaming with your image on Christmas Day. 5-minute live broadcast.
All this for $20,000.
Or 4 times each day
For $15,000.
right here on NTRG.
Call us on 614-8205 or 692-9400 for details. Merry Christmas from News Talk Radio Guyana, 103.1